Okay, hello everyone. I can see that the next presenter is ready for this session. It's Linda Bosman again here with you, and very welcome to Professor Diale again, presenting another session for us, together with Sebastian. I think it is also from the University of Johannesburg. So if you are ready, we can wait for 1 minute. I see we still have 1 minute left before this presentation will start. So we can just give some time for others to join if they would like to. Yes, so then everything is ready. I'll give you the thumbs up in a minute's time.
Linda?
Yes.
Just tell me if do you see the full presentation?
I see the full presentation, yes.
I'm going to scroll. Tell me if it scrolls. Sometimes my thing doesn't want to scroll down.
Okay, it scrolls down. It looks
okay,
perfect.
Thank you so much. Good.
Okay, so you can just go back to the beginning.
Thank you so much.
Right. Okay, it's time already, so you can start your presentation. Then a review study on the standards or criteria for quality early childhood care and education. So thank you so much. You can start now.
Thank you and good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Diale. I am from the University of Johannesburg, and I am co-presenting with my co-presenter and PDRF, Dr. Aigbodion Sawagan, and he will be presenting all the way from Ethiopia. So we will be co-presenting the study. This particular study was looking at the standards or criteria for quality early childhood care and education, and it was a review study of the different studies that have been made in terms of this particular aspect. The presentation as it goes, we will introduction, then we will try and talk around the concept of quality in early childhood care and education, the method that was used. We'll talk about the standard criteria for quality, see the results that we're putting together in terms of the criteria, and then we will conclude. We all know that early childhood is a very critical time in the life of a child, especially between the ages of 3 and 6 years of their lives. And it is a time when young children begin to learn skills and develop abilities that set the foundation stage for future development. In different countries, the different terms are used to refer to early childhood development. Whilst in the South African context, we use the term early childhood development. For instance, in countries like Finland, the term early childhood education and care is used. In Canada, early childhood education is used. And in Ethiopia, they use the term early childhood care and education. And I guess there are various countries that use different terms that all refer to the term of children between 3 and 6 years that we are looking at in our early childhood care centers. We know that in South Africa, we use the term ECD. This period, or the ECD or ECC, it's a process and mechanism that sustains and supports the development during early child years of the child. And it encompasses the education of the child, the physical development, the social development, the emotional development and care, intellectual stimulation, health care, and nutrition. These are the key issues that have been put down by UNESCO and UNICEF in their international view of how it should be done in early childhood education. At this stage, there is a growing priority.
No, she's and I need to be part of her. Yes, thank you, thank you.
Sorry, somebody is talking. Thank you. There is growing priority in terms of the issues of childhood education in the country. Not only in South Africa, I think in many developing countries in Africa, but we know currently in South Africa, the whole issue of early childhood development, it's sort of on the table and it's a hot potato, as we would have heard this morning from our keynote speaker. There is also high evidence in terms of early childhood development investment, which can contribute to the global policy priorities in terms of childhood development. Now, if we are to think of early childhood development, it is important for us to begin to think about the quality that we give. It doesn't help that we say we have centers of early childhood development, or we are having people who are providing services in terms of early childhood development, but we do not look at the concept or the quality that is given in early childhood development. We know for a fact that in the South African context, many of the early childhood development centers have practitioners that are either unqualified or underqualified or qualified in other fields, excluding early childhood development. And therefore, this actually creates a challenge of quality in terms of early childhood development. We'll all know in the field of research and in the field of education that once we compromise this period, we are bound to have challenges throughout the development of a child. And I say this from the perspective that I know as an educational psychologist myself, the challenges we come across either in foundation phase, intermediate, and even sometimes in senior and FET phase, which would have actually been avoided if quality was done during the early childhood development period. So it is during this time that we need to look at the different variables and diverse contexts internationally that can actually support and grow all the goals of early childhood development. We also have to look at how do we fulfill the predetermined set of standards that we can evaluate different people, whether it is within the provinces in South Africa, in different provinces in the country, but also internationally. Are we having the standards that we can say as part of global citizens, we can stand proudly and say we have quality early childhood and education? We also have to look at the pedagogical and developmental acceptability of early childhood education presentations that we have, or the centers that we have, that what are the pedagogical aspects that are given there, and what are the developmental aspects that are addressed and are acceptable. If these are taken into place, then we are able to say we could be on a way of becoming an active and economically productive member of society, or we could be building active, economically and productive members of society. I have to say, colleagues, I am saying this last part of this slide per se to say we want to build from early childhood active and economically productive members of the society. But today, as many of us sitting here, I am saying this with a very heavy heart, looking at what is happening in the country and how many little children are involved in the current mayhem, and asking myself, are we really going to reach this goal of having a productive and a growing member of the society, looking at the current situation? I am prone to talk about this particular slide that comes from the statistics in the country in terms of the different children who are involved in ECE centers and cared for at home. But due to time, I wouldn't go into detail in terms of the different aspects. However, the reality is we have many children that are still out of school and are not cared for. If you look at that green graph, it's all children who are cared from home with parents or caregivers. And the pink one, it's those who are cared at home by another adult. And you can see how it goes down, and it is really scary where we are as a country. And therefore, my argument or our argument is that if we want to really look at the concept of quality in education and care for children, we need to really think carefully, what do we mean by equality, equity, and liberation? While we think of we are all equal, when we talk of equality that we always talk about, it means we are all equal. But the question is, if we look at this first picture, are we really all equal? And probably we also most of the time use the term equity. And equity talks about fairness. But let us also look at the second picture and ask ourselves, when we talk of the concept of quality in early childhood care and education, is this fairness in terms of equity? And our argument is based on the third slide, or on the third picture, which talks about liberation and saying, if we are to really see quality care for our children, we need to talk of inclusivity. And inclusivity talks about that picture where all three of these can have an inclusive and liberated way of watching what is happening. This will then be promoting the whole concept of inclusive education for all, will be promoting the children's rights that are enshrined in our constitutions, and will be working towards the 2030 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Talking about the UN 2030 Sustainable Goals, unless we ensure that we've got quality education, early childhood education in the country and even globally, we will never reach the goals that are put for us in the 2020 SDG. We'll never ever go through the goal on poverty with the current context of ECD. The issue of zero hunger will never end by 2030. The issues around good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, and eventually we will never reduce inequality and reach the stage where our children have decent work and economic growth, which are all goals that look at partnerships to achieve our goals in terms of SDG 2020. The start is with quality education for all. Having said that, let me give over to my co-presenter, Abba, to talk about the methodology.
Okay, thank you, Prof. So the method that we have followed to conduct this study is a review study, and we pass different stages to conduct this study. So here the document is basically document analysis from different sources, that is for books, book chapters, journals, policy documents, and other sources are used. And these basically articles in relation to childhood education are identified, collected, and reviewed, and the data from different reviews were analyzed and interpreted using descriptive narrative analysis. So the analysis and the discussion are presented together based on the different topics which are related to the issue. So this is the stage what we have followed to conduct this review study. So our focus is, or our main objective is what? Identifying the common standards or criteria for quality ECC. So before listing the common standards or criteria for quality ECC, so what does standard mean first? So the standards, in short, they are what? Guidelines or rules for products, processes, and test methods or materials. And this creates or created to produce a level of uniformity and interchangeability, reliability, and means of comparison. Therefore, the ECC services need to be holistic and should attain the minimum standard for the implementation. So when we have a holistic standard, so and when the minimum standard is achieved, so we can say there is quality ECC. So there are different professionals or educators in the area of quality, I mean in ECC. So professionals, in short, in ECC set different standards to assess the quality of ECC, even if they are not uniform from country to country or from continent to continent due to the economy, politics, culture, and workforce or other differences. Therefore, by considering the differences in the definition and the components of ECC and the different elements, so we try to list basic and common quality standards of ECC. So there are criteria for standards that we have found based on our study. So these are the common standards or criteria to have a quality ECC. So the first one is the training, that is appropriate training for teachers and caregivers. So here the teachers and caregivers should take appropriate training. So this has its own contribution for the quality of ECC. Second, use of developmentally appropriate curriculum. Here, the curriculum should be appropriate. It should consider the developmental age of children. And the third one is favorable teacher belief and pedagogical practices. So the teacher or teachers should have favorable belief or good belief about the teaching learning process, the assessment, in general, their profession. And they should have good or appropriate pedagogical practices. So this is one criteria. And the other one is conducive working conditions. That is the school environment. Even the home environment should be conducive for children to learn in a better way or in a good condition. So here the working condition should be conducive for students, for children, as well as for teachers. And the other one is the resources. That is, there should be adequate resource or facilities. So here, when I say resource or facilities, that is the school facilities. It may be the materials or the inside and outside. I mean, inside and indoor and outdoor play materials, for example. So there should be adequate resource or facility in the school. And the other one is continuous supervision and program evaluation. So here, the program, that is the ECC program, should be evaluated continuously, and there should be a monitoring. There should be monitoring. So this is one. And the other one is the active parent and community participation. Here, the parents' participation is vital for the children and even the school community, the teachers and other stakeholders should get an input from parents about the mode of delivery, maybe about the in general about the school organization or the school environment. So here there should be active parent and community participation. And the other standard is effective school organization and leadership. Here, good school organization contribute to the active teaching learning process and produce effective results. So there should be effective school organization and leadership. The other one is balanced or appropriate staff-child ratio. Here, there should be a manageable ratio between the staff and the child. So here, if the children are more, if the number of teachers are very limited, so it may have its own impact on the quality of teaching, maybe the quality of the assessment. So there should be the balance between the two should be appropriate. And the other one is the staff consistency. That means there should be low turnover. So if the turnover is high, again, it affects the quality of the ECC. And the last but not the least standard as to our review is adult-child interaction. That means there should be positive interaction between the teacher and the children, or even the leadership or the school principal. So here there should be positive interaction between the different organs in the school or in the school environment in general. So when these standards are achieved, so we can say there is quality ECCE. And if there is quality ECCE, so we can say it is a base for the production of competent and creative individual for a country and for the world at large. So if the children are creative and competent, so we will have a global citizen. That means we have it contributes for in general for the world in a positive way. So as a conclusion for our study, so here the availability of the ability criteria or the ability standards helps to evaluate the proper implementation of quality ECC programs. Therefore, if the ECC program is implemented effectively on the basis of the above standards or the above criteria, so the program, that is the ECC program, will contribute its part in producing the next generation workforce who leads the tomorrow's world. So this is the conclusion. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much to the presenters for sharing your insights from your systematic review on the concept of quality and ECCE. That is always such a contested concept because, you know, we have our doubts about universal standards and does quality have a universal meaning? Is there something like a universal productive citizen, and how do contextual factors impact on equality and fairness and inclusiveness and all of that? So thank you so much for sharing your insights. I think there is time to take some questions and comments from the delegates. So if someone would like to comment or ask a question, you can use the chat or otherwise just raise a hand or unmute yourself and just join the conversation. Okay, Professor Ibrahim asks, thank you for the presentation. Is there going to be a pilot study to test this out?
Thank you for the question. Yes, we are actually looking at having a pilot study. As I said, that my co-presenter, who is my PDRF, is actually based in Ethiopia. So we are looking at a pilot study that we can do on both countries to see what it might be particular. For instance, we could be looking at in South Africa taking Gauteng, and in Ethiopia he will take the province or town that he is as a pilot to see. But we are really looking, because I have different PDRFs that come from different countries. The next presenter who I'm presenting with is from Nigeria. So we are really looking forward to looking at different countries in Africa that we can do a comparative study and see how do they see quality care and education in ECD, and what is it that we can adopt from an African perspective that would actually stand the test of time globally.
Okay, and Hasina comments will be very interesting. Looking forward to this. Any other questions or comments from the delegates? I think it's late in the afternoon.
Okay.
Everyone is
sorry. Sorry.
There's someone there. Okay.
Yeah, I want to add what Prof said regarding this pilot study. So here we have listed different standards from different sources or from different literatures. These are the results of different studies. So in our next study, we will check to what extent these criteria or these standards are valid. So we'll check the validity of these standards or these instruments across different settings or nations. So this helps us to study its validity in implementation across different nations or countries. Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing further from the
There's a
delegates.
hand from Angela.
Okay, yes, Angela, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, I really would like to compliment, and I really enjoyed the way you identified the standards, and I would like to wish you good luck. And if all the standards can be implemented, the outcome should be positive and help our little ones. Thank you. Good luck and all the best with your study. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Professor Albie Henning is also commenting that you are opening doors to research in East and West Africa with a smiley face. So that's a good thing.
Thank you. I was just looking for my boss, Prof. Yenning, is going to ask me a question. Thank you, Prof. Yenning. Thank you, sis, for this. We really are looking forward to this. And I just want to comment in terms of what Angela has just said, to say we presented earlier on at 11 o'clock with Angela because we did another study at a township in early childhood education. So I'm happy that she's commenting about this because she will be part of this bigger study as a researcher.
Oh, thank you. Looking forward.
Okay, so let's close this session here then. But I think Professor Diale, you are the next presenter as well. I'm sure of that.
Yes, my voice
Very
is gone now.
productive.
I'm now presenting with my other PDRF from, she's presenting all the way from Nigeria now.
Nigeria, yes, I saw that. Okay, but I'm going to wait for a while because sometimes people want to join from other sessions.
Yes.
So we can just give a minute or two for others to join before I introduce you, and then
It gives me time to also load the next presentation.
Yes, I think the next time is about, starting at 1:45 exactly. So we have a minute or two just to give other people time to join the session.
Let me know if you also are able to see this presentation.
Yes, I can see that. And if you want to scroll down just to test, yes, it's showing perfectly. So everything is fine. It's working out perfectly.
Thank you. Mm-mm.
Everyone, I think it's almost time to start again. So once again, very welcome, Professor Diale, this time with one of your colleagues from Nigeria, Vera Victor Aigbodion. And it will be really interesting to hear the Nigerian perspective on the extent to which birth position correlates with big five personality traits and academic achievement among primary school children. So I'm excited to hear about that. As a mother of four, I'm sure I'll learn some tips from you and understand my own children a little better. So thank you so much for this presentation. It's already showing and you can just proceed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much once again, colleagues, for joining us in this presentation. This presentation will be led by Vera and our Ed later on, but we are presenting on the extent to which birth position correlates with big five personality traits and academic achievements among primary school pupils in Nigeria, in the Nsukka area. So I will give over to Vera to start. Vera. Vera.
Hello, good day, everyone.
Thank you. We can
you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good day, everyone. I am Vera Victor Aigbodion, presenting alongside with Professor Boitumelo Diale. We are both affiliated to the University of Johannesburg, Nigeria. Sorry, South Africa. Yeah, we are presenting a paper
Vera, we are missing you. We can't hear you.
She's muted.
Vera, can you please just unmute yourself?
Hello?
You've muted yourself. Yes,
Yeah,
you
we
can
can hear
continue.
you.
Hello?
We can hear you, Vera.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Sorry, we're having some technical hitches. Our network is very bad.
We can hear you. You can continue.
Vera, can you please just unmute yourself? Vera? There you
Hello?
go. Yeah. Yeah, just beware not to mute yourself while you are presenting.
Okay. We are looking at the extent to which birth position correlates with the big five personality traits and academic achievement among primary school pupils. Our study examined the long-standing question of whether a child's birth position correlates with his or her personality traits. Alfred Adler's theory of birth position posits that different position or birth order may be correlated with both the positive and the negative outcomes, which include academic achievements. In this study, we are looking at the big five personality traits. There are 5 broad parameters which describes an individual's personality called the Big Five model. These models have 5 personalities which include 1, openness. Individuals with this trait are very active and have inclination towards creativity and aesthetics. Generally, they are open to new things. The second in this model is the conscientiousness. Individuals who have these traits are extremely cautious and self-disciplined. We also have the extraversion and the introversion personality traits. Talking about the extraversion, it is a state where an individual shows more concern towards what is happening outside. That is to say, the individual is more concerned with how he or she relates with other people. What affects other people tells more about the individual. While on the opposite, we have the introversion, which is a state where an individual shows more concern towards self. Everything about that individual's consciousness is reflected on what he or she feels. The fourth one in the Big Five model is the agreeableness. It is a trait which teaches adjustment. An individual who has this trait, can easily adjust or acclimatize to new environment or situation, be it positive or negative. Then lastly, in the Big Five personality trait model, we have neuroticism, which is a trait where individuals are prone to negative thoughts, such as guilt, anger, envy, and so on and so forth. So in this study, we examine the long-standing question, which has always been asked whether a child's position among his siblings, that is the birth order, if it has impact on his or her personality traits, and also its relationship with that child's academic achievements. Several research findings have indicated a correlation between birth position and personality traits. Alfred Adler's theory of birth position says that the position of a child may be correlated by both positive and negative outcomes, which include academic achievements. Therefore, the present study investigated the relationship between these three variables under discourse, that is, the personality trait, academic achievement, and birth position. The study adopted a correlational research design to ascertain the extent of the interplay of the constructs under discourse. The population of the study and the sample size consists of 266 primary 4 pupils, representing 214 families. The area of the study is a place called Ekpoma in Edo State, South Nigeria. 2 instruments were used for data collection in this study. We had the Big Five personality traits questionnaire, which contained 25 items. It was developed to cover the 5 personality traits I had earlier talked about. The second instrument was the academic achievement instrument, which was developed having 27 items. In order to analyze the data, we use mean scores, standard deviation, and Pearson product moment correlation analysis to answer the research questions we have raised. Then we used the regression analysis to test our hypothesis at 0.05 significant level. The result of our findings show that there exists a moderate but direct relationship between birth position and personality traits. Our statistical analysis also suggested that primary school pupils' academic achievement is not accounted for by their birth position. So our concluding comment is that our study found out that there is a direct relationship. However, it is a moderate relationship between birth position, personality trait, and academic achievement. On this note, I say thank you very much. Siyabonga.
Thank you. We can take questions.
Yes, it's open to the questions now. We have some time left over for a good discussion about this. So anybody that is eager to ask a question or to respond or to make a suggestion, you're welcome to do so now. Am I allowed to ask a question?
You are allowed to ask a question.
In the absence of any other questions, I just wondered about your definition of a family. You included a whole lot of children from many families, and the birth position. How did you know, some families are reconstructed and so forth. So what was your definition of a family, so that you could really understand how the birth position could have an impact on the mentioned aspects?
Vera, did you hear the question? Okay. I don't know if Vera can hear the question. I will try to answer to the best of my understanding of the question. In terms of the, let me reconstruct for myself, Linda. Your question is?
Yes, I just wanted to find out what is the definition of family, so that you could use a birth position to determine, children's personality traits or academic success, because some families are reconstructed and so forth. Then, there could be children from other families.
Okay. In this particular study, in terms of, now I'm answering this based on my experience as a visiting professor at the University of Nigeria and my visit. In most of the families, or predominantly families in the Nigerian context, are defined as in the nuclear sense of a Western family. And in many families, many of the people, I laughed when you said of your 4 children you wanted to understand, because at least in the Nigerian context, if you say you've got, your family small, which are your biological children, it's about 4 children, but their children range anything between 4 and 8. So, and in most of them, as we know, that some of the key things such as divorces or children out of wedlock, not that they are not there, but most of the families are constructed in the traditional sense of a nuclear family system.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I see Lucia has a question. Lucia, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, or just type it in the chat, because I think Vera has some difficulty hearing the questions. But if you can just unmute yourself to ask your question, I'll help you from there onwards.
All right, thank you so much. Good afternoon, Linda, and good afternoon, Prof. Diale and Dr. Vera. Thank you for the presentation. I was particularly interested in your results, which showed a moderate relationship between a child's birth position and their personality traits. And I'm just wondering, from your results, what were some of those relationships that you found, or the common personality traits that are associated with a specific birth position, say the firstborn, or the middle child, or the lastborn? I don't know if I got your results correctly, but from my understanding, am I correct?
Vera?
Lucia, can I suggest that you just write your question in the chat so that Vera can also see that, because she's having difficulty hearing. So if you can just write a quick question in the chat, then she can see that. But in the meantime, we have a comment from Hasina. We have multiple family structural forms. Essay white paper on families has about 8 categories. Might be good to explore these. Right.
I appreciate Hasina's comment on the chat. My apologies, colleagues. I was trying to give Vera a call, thinking I might be able to catch on the call and put her on the speaker. But I hear now the music is playing here on the presentation. Yes, Hasina, thank you so much for your comment. I think, yes, I do agree with you that within the South African context, it will actually be interesting to do this study within the South African context with our multiple structures in terms of how we conceptualize a family system, and to look at, the white paper on families and those different categories within the South African context. I think this would be an interesting study. Thank you for the comment.
Right.
Vera?
There's another hand. There's another hand. So please unmute and then ask the question.
Angela?
Yes, thank you. You know, it's so interesting what you mentioned now about South African reality, because unfortunately we know that we have quite a large number of child-headed families. And then, yeah, I think it will be quite interesting to look at the outcomes. And obviously, when we are educating, teaching our children, all this research results will just help and support teachers in understanding better our children. Because we used to say, oh, you are big sister, you are big brother, and this is my baby one. But now your outcome says that no, actually, you know what, it does not really affect the outcome of your study potential and your talents to study. But I really would like to see how will be the outcomes on the child-headed families. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Louis.
Man?
Sorry, can you respond to that?
Linda?
Do you want to respond to the previous question?
By Angela?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes, my response to Angela was that, yes, I think it goes back to saying within the fact that this study was done in a different country where the dynamics of a family system are different from the dynamics we have here in the country. It would really be an interesting way of looking at how do we look at these on issues of personality and achievement within the South African context based on the different family structures that we have.
Right, and I also had another question there. Do you think that primary education can or should respond to children's personality traits and needs, and how should that be done? Because, you know, there are so many diverse needs that need to be considered in a classroom situation? So can schools also respond to personality needs?
Yes, I've got Vera now on the phone with me, but let me respond to this while she's listening. Thank you for this question. Actually, it is a very important question, Linda, in terms of primary education and the response to children's personality traits and needs. For a long time in psychology, we have sat in a space where we started talking about personality when we begin to talk about adults and the different personality or the abnormalities or pathological abnormalities that have to do with personalities. And we forget that personalities actually are identified even really from the beginning at birth and as the children grow. So the whole issue of personality traits that leads to the needs of children, it's a key important aspect in primary schooling. However, the challenge is that personality traits and the issues of the needs in the field of psychology, it's a very specialized field. And within our country, we currently are sitting in a situation where we have one psychologist for 300 schools. So it is a rather challenging space of how do we even begin to tap the surface in terms of primary education and children's personality traits and needs. And maybe if I can add to that, Linda, the issue of the fact that in South Africa, we are still struggling with the assessment batteries that are locally and contextually developed to address such issues makes the whole issue of primary education and personality traits a challenge. But it is a challenge that we have to face and begin to work on.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Are there any more questions? Because I don't want to miss this note of appreciation from Avatiun, who says, please appreciate for me Professor Diale. She's a very hard worker, committed and keen. And well, I was a chair in 3 of your presentations and so excellently done. So I can agree on that. So thank you so much for everything that you are doing and sharing with the ECD community. We really appreciate what you do. So thank you for that. And I can see that other people around you also appreciate that.
Thank you. Vera, can you hear me now on the phone?
Yes, I can hear you, Prof.
Okay, Vera is on the phone now. Can you, Linda, can you hear Vera?
We can hear her clearly, yes.
Yes, there was one question.
I can hear from the WhatsApp. The network on this thing is really bad.
Okay. Technology is brilliant. So it was Lucia that asked, what were some of the common personality traits that were associated with specific birth position, like the firstborn or lastborn children? So yeah, so that was Lucia's question for Vera.
That's what? What was?
So what were the common personality traits that were associated with specific birth position, like the firstborn or lastborn? I remember you mentioned the 5, the big 5. So could you, correspond the firstborn with one of the specific traits, or I'm not sure exactly what Lucia was asking, but I think she just wanted to know, were firstborns, more...
From our findings, if I get the question very clearly, she wants to know what personality trait was attributed to maybe a particular child, maybe being the firstborn, second or third or whatever.
Yes.
If that is the
question.
Yes.
That's the question.
Yes, okay. Our finding shows that the firstborn are more agreeable. That is, they have the traits which teaches adjustment more than all other primary school pupils who have the other traits. So they have the higher trait of agreeableness among the big 5 personality traits. We found that out in our study. We also found out that they are also
more open than the other children with different forms of personality traits. Then our study also found out that the last borns are more concerned about themselves. They show more concern about themselves. Whether that, as long as the child is a last born child, whether being whether a fifth child or the sixth child, like in the Nigerian perspective, in the Nigerian context, we have larger families. Even though among the elites, we practice the one man, one wife thing, but we bear more children in Nigeria than what I see in South Africa. Here we have them as many as God will give to us, no matter how learned you are. So we found out that across the children, you have the last born children being more self-centered. They are more inclined to what appeals to them, more conscious about themselves rather than others. So I don't know if that has answered Lucia's question.
Thank you, Vera. Lucia, are you answered?
Yes, it seems as if she's happy.
Yes, I have typed in the comment box that these are quite interesting results, and I really want to read this paper and get more of these details. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have been kicked out actually. Any last comment? So I'm now connected via Prof's WhatsApp.
Okay.
Okay, any last thing from your side, from the presenter side?
Okay, from our side, I would like to thank everyone who really have attended both our sessions, because I see many people sat in both sessions. And I have to say, I will type my email on the chat, Linda. If people, we are looking forward to collaborate. Research is all about collaboration and growing the space. Currently at the university or in my department, together, and one of my colleagues who is, I see he is in the presentation, and he's the next presenter, Prof. Sifoto. We are doing a huge research, national research in terms of neurodevelopmental learning needs with children. And these are some of the aspects that we would be looking at. So we are looking forward to collaborations and to working together with you all, those who are interested. Drop me an email and we will be able to engage with you. But Linda, thank you so much for being such a lovely host for us.
And thank you for being a wonderful presenter and having so many wonderful projects and for the invitation to collaborate. I'm sure people will take note of your email there, and you can expect some communication in your inbox soon.
There is an interesting comment from Alisa, which says, I wonder what effect parent styles have on this as well. Alisa, that's a very interesting one. Take this up, sister, and probably we can bring together the two findings and see what's happening. Thank you so much for the comment.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. And now you can take a little break.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, I'm just wondering if our two next presenters are in the session yet. Can I just check? I heard that you said that Professor Sifoto is here.
Yes.
Hello, my former colleague. I'm here.
Yes, it's lovely to see your face. Last time I saw you, it was in a very uncomfortable situation.
I know. But thank God you are still alive.
Yes, thanks for that.
Thank you.
Okay,
And good to see you too.
Yes, and I see you are now at the University of Johannesburg and not Pretoria anymore.
Not Pretoria anymore. You see, I took a cue from you. Are you still at Pretoria? I see that something said sun somewhere there.
Yes, I'm at the University of Stellenbosch now, but missing Pretoria and UP every day.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And the people at UP.
Yes, lovely to see you.
Okay, but
will you give me the opportunity to show the screen?
Yes, I will help you through that now. I think yes, you will be presenting together with Professor Mampane, or will you be presenting on your own?
I'll be alone. She gave her an apology. She won't be able to participate, but I'm ready.
Okay, so do you know how to share a screen?
I think I do.
Okay, so it will be, yeah, there you go. Okay, so it's ready and showing. So just to welcome all the delegates and the audience here, Professor Sefoto will be presenting on the International Research Networks of the World Education Research Association, or Vera as we know it, with a focus on promoting and supporting children's agency and participation in ECCE. And the topic is a whole mouthful because it also says during the COVID pandemic and beyond. So if you are ready, Professor Sefoto, you can take the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you kindly. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Perhaps by way of introduction, shortly, so that at least people are not wondering who is this person presenting. My name is Maximus Monaheng Sefoto, and I'm currently in the Department of Educational Psychology at the University of Johannesburg, as it shows in the screen. I am not a researcher in early childhood at all, but my research takes a position of a lifelong. Oh, there's some interference. I don't know where it's coming from. Sorry about that. My research takes a lifelong kind of span because, as Professor Diale said, we are now currently looking at issues of career transitioning of children with neurodevelopmental needs. I am trained in career guidance and counseling, but also looking at that from the perspective of disability. That's where me and Prof. Diale, meet. But then I met Dr. Giselle Turpuores here in South Africa under Vera. And I think for some reason she started talking about this network that she wants to establish, and decided that she was going to invite us in South Africa to be part of that, and I'm very thankful to that. What I'm presenting is not a study per se, but a clarion call to say to all of us from our all different confluences of researches, how can we look at children's agency and participation, basically during this pandemic and perhaps beyond? And the study is going to take place from this year. We have already started work up to 2024. Another partner in the three conveners, the international conveners, is Dr. Nicola Wills Espinosa. She is in Ecuador, and these are the key conveners who we have in the study. And the two of us are representing our conveners for South Africa, myself and Professor Ruth Mampane. And this study is made up of a team of researchers from Africa that will be us, but as I said, it's not my field. So the idea is to talk to people who would be interested in having their studies catapulted then on the World Education Research Association platforms. This is Vera. This is the largest organization whose chair, fortunately, this time is one of our own South African scholars, Professor Liesel Eberson. And we are proud to say, at least after so many years, a South African is operating at this world level to represent South Africa and be at the helm of what is going on. So a key purpose of the network is to involve international academics in the development of research and training on the subject of child agency and participation, as I have said. Just before my presentation, I took the opportunity to find out through the program whether there's anyone who has presented on agency or even participation of children. And lo and behold, I didn't find any. I know that Professor Hasina perhaps is working in this area of children's agency, and it would, sorry about that, someone has their mic. Sorry about that. I know and I suspect that she will be interested to partner with us and give us some of, maybe the postgraduate students who are working in this area, or any other researcher who would be interested to come on board. So the general objectives of the network would be to establish this network looking at the age range of between 3 and 8 of these children. But again, to produce evidence at the national and international levels on the issue of agency. When I heard this for the first time, I was taken aback and I said to myself, in Africa, do we actually speak of children's agency? And if we do, what could it mean? And perhaps this is one of an angle of research that needs to be looked at in a way from our own indigenous knowledge systems, because I'm sure that there's a lot that we can contribute here. And then again, another objective is to support the development of resources and the sustainability of future research in this area. The resources would be very, very important because those books, those articles, I'm one of the people who always decry the fact that what Prof. Diale alluded to, instruments that are developed, homegrown in South Africa, books that are from here, articles that are from here, the reports, anything, you name it, that addresses the challenges of an African child. And in terms of the specific objectives of the network, the first one is really to develop a repository on the topic of agency. And this repository will be now where we all go and find information that can help us in whatever angle that we want to look at the issue of children's agency and participation in. And also to produce an international report. This report will be presented to Vera, and then it will be redisseminated back to the constituencies so that everyone has a sense of what is happening in this area. And then to develop the research project on the topic of post-COVID child participation and agency in these countries. It's quite broad because it's Africa, is the Australasia, Europe, and Latin America. At least it's a little bit more representative. And also to produce and evaluate practical and, as I said, culturally relevant resources to promote and support child agency. And then lastly, to disseminate this knowledge on the issue of agency and participation, and to promote the development of training on these issues. I know that one overhears that in the ECD space, a lot of training is required. Perhaps this is one of the areas that should be included in the training so that it takes care of that. In terms of activities for the growth of the network, The first one will be to present network in relevant spaces. This is what I'm trying to do now. This is the relevant space because I caught wind of the conference fairly late, but the organizers have been very kind to allow us the space to come and talk about these, but also to use the website of Vera and associated organizations to present the network and interact with academics from all over the world. If one of you has work that relates to this, it would be really very, very important to have Africa represented on this world platform. And then to configure a virtual space, and I'm sure from here I'm going to read the program carefully and then find out who is out there who can collaborate so that we communicate clearly and then file exchanges and meetings that need to be involved. Those postgraduate students are more than welcome to come on board so that they can collaborate with us in this space. Activity number 2, in the form of cohesive network. Forming this network, we organize series of online meetings. We have had several of those. Exchange, map, and synthesize the idea of participants to extrapolate and the objectives and methodologies of the network, of the working in the network. And then to carry out a seminar on the topic of agency. As I said, looking through, I didn't find any presentation that spoke about this. Perhaps from here onwards, we will get the space to be able to talk about this. And thirdly, as an activity, to create a repository on the topic. And I've just said, a little while ago, but also to explore and develop a methodology for the collection of relevant literature. I'm sure I can navigate around and talk to people and find out what literature is out there that they can encourage that it could be included in these. And organize team meetings at national and regional level to coordinate and carry out this collection of literature. As I'm trying to emphasize, researchers, our postgraduate students are more than welcome to collaborate with us in this issue. Now, activity number 4 involves defining the knowledge base. Now, these meetings are important because then they will lead us to find out who are the people, the players in terms of agency and children's participation in early childhood, and also to carry out the meetings and workshops where necessary. We have already started on another level in another focus area in research, where these workshops have proved to be very, very effective in a way of addressing issues on the ground, and we'll be happy if people can participate. And then activity number 5 is development of research relevant to the objectives of the network. We can do this through workshops, and then funding for research projects, also exploring different methods of involving agency and child participation. Number 6 will be now to produce practical and culturally relevant tools. We need this, in a way that we cannot underestimate. I always think back to Professor Muletsane, who at some point started to look around the issues of masikitlane, because these are they play things that children are, they are in their system. But have we documented enough of this? And if one were to go back and try to find out, you may find it's 1 or 2 studies that are, addressing this issue. And really, who are we as Africa if we cannot promote that which is culturally relevant and develop tools that do not compromise the education of our children as early as the primary education? And then again, to evaluate the effectiveness of the resources produced so that little by little we find out if they work. Our colleagues were talking about this big 5, and then you get to think, where does it come from? Is it really talking to us? What is its effectiveness and all of that? They have done that, we do understand. But these are the things that we need to bring on board so that we say, okay, fine, we see the big 5 words, but what can work from our own cultural perspectives? And also to explore the theoretical and resource gaps that are around there. As I'm saying, this issue of children's agency and participation, it's new to me. I didn't think of it until I Googled around, and I think, as I said, I saw something towards Professor Hasina doing that. She will have to forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think she's one of the main players in this field who can guide us better in this. And then activity number 7 would be now the dissemination of the results, wherein this will be presenting the international report for peer review at the Vera Symposia. Vera has one of the biggest conferences around the world. They go around. Last time I think I participated, they were in Cape Town, and a lot of us then went there and participated. This is where our research now can be disseminated. And also to present the report for peer review in the Vera book series. In a meeting that we had, I think about 3 days ago, the agreement was that the research that people want to, they should be given space if they want to have chapters in these Vera books, and they should be also given space for articles anywhere. There should be that support, especially for our upcoming scholars, our PhD students and all those. There is talk about supporting them to present their work, and they should be supported in such a way that their work should be disseminated through these mechanisms. And then present findings of the report at Vera conferences. Those of us who could be able to go, it would be really interesting. And present the work of the network in other international and educational networks to exchange knowledge and develop skills among future professionals in initial and primary education, as well as disseminating the work of the networks to civil society, including social networks and broader media. I think, as I said, the field is not mine, but hearing the word children's agency rings a lot of bells in my head that keep questions coming to me to say, are we giving enough space really for our children to represent themselves? Or are we the ones who are always showing them without listening to them in terms of what their needs are? Activity number 8, capacity building and future sustainability. And here we're organizing bi-monthly meetings of the networks. It's happening, and accompany proposals from researchers and students for the presentation to finance postgraduate studies and research. I alluded to this earlier. And then organizing academic and research exchanges between the countries, institutions, and associations. In the network, we might find that there's someone maybe in Australia or New Zealand I want to work with. This should be the platform that allows for that space to happen. There are a lot of people here who are working in the network, and we must take the opportunity to be able to collaborate across the continents, and then to explore methods through which the network can become sustainable. And the main products of the network, as I said, will be, the repository where this literature can be accessed. And again, I want to say that the main products of the report or of the network should be that international report, academic literature. And here is something interesting, state of the art on the agency and child participation. I do believe we have researchers amongst us who can show us what the playing field is like. And ladies and gentlemen, I think I've said so much, and I would like to share these slides to say that if anybody is interested to participate, please send us emails. The first email is for the for the network. The second ones are for us here in South Africa, and it would be really interesting to have people to come up to say they want to participate, so that then we can have a strong army of representation from South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. This will be my presentation for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the insightful and lively presentation at the end of this day, Professor Sefoto. So I think, the words children's rights, voice, agency, participation are hot topics in ECD, also in South Africa. Maybe you missed some presentations, and I agree with you that I think research by and with and for children are still less evident. Most research is still on or about children, but there are a lot of us that have done that already. I know Hasina's done a lot, Nasima Sheikh, Ina Yuber, but from my side, I must just say that doing research to actively involve children in a research process all the way through, especially in a formal schooling situation, is quite difficult. It is really challenging, and I think many people opt for then rather doing it with the practitioners or teachers or adults or on or about children. But we must work on these practices because children's voice is so precious. They are agentic beings. They can participate. I sometimes just, with the feedback I got from the children, I sometimes just cried about the honesty of their voice and so forth. But it is difficult to do as a researcher. I think there are some comments in the chat. Albi asked if Vera is affiliated to Saira, and then it seems there is an affiliation. If I don't know if you want to respond to that.
I want to believe that there are members of Saira in here. I'm not a member, but these national organizations, associations, actually, many of them are members of Vera. So there is an affiliation, and if not, the room is open for them to become members. But I know that a lot of us, as I said, do participate in Vera, and we come through these national organizations.
Okay. I just see there that Hasina confirms that she's worked quite a bit on child agency and participation in a PhD, as well as Nasima Sheikh.
Thank you.
And then Nasima also has a special interest group. I know we established it in this Saraisi, but I'm not sure how far it has progressed. And then she also developed situated ethics for young children and methodologies for agentic children. And she agrees that there's much work that needs to be done in the area.
Thank you so much.
The NCF has the agentic child at its heart, and we have used this for our book on curriculum, pedagogy, and assessment from birth to fall.
Beautiful.
Okay. And then, someone else says, brilliant presentation, and we should allow children to have a voice. I know in overseas there's a CRIA, Children's Rights in Action, where the conferences are not presented by adults but by children themselves. And I actually want us at Saraisi to do the same thing when we are allowed to have personal contact. So it's definitely something that we will do. To make South African and African children's voices heard. Okay, any other questions or comments? We still have a few minutes left. You're getting stars, Professor Sefoto.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
But I'm sure there's someone that wants to speak up.
Please.
Anyone wants to join the conversation? There's a hand. I cannot. Nasima, it's Nasima Sheikh. Please just unmute yourself and then feel free.
Sure. Thank you, Linda. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you for that excellent presentation. It's a field that's not well traversed here in the South African context. And I think that it is an issue with, one of the issues with working with children is an ethical issue. And when seeking ethical clearance to work with young children is highly problematic. But that's the one reason. The other reason is that there are a lot of, as researchers, I mean, we've worked on how we understand young children and how they learn. So I think our perceptions of who young children are and what their capabilities are is very, very important. Like I indicated in my presentation yesterday, we focus more on knowledge extraction rather than on knowledge construction. And knowledge construction can only help and can only happen if we change our beliefs about who young children are, what their capabilities are. So it also goes back to epistemologies and what we believe, what we think is knowledge, and what is our knowledge about these young children that we work with. So I think that our beliefs, and I don't say beliefs cannot change, they can change with experience, but this is something, an area that we need as adults to firstly try to understand the position that children hold in society and the ways in which we need to access their voices. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nasima. And then Professor Diale, you have a hand up.
Actually, thank you, because Nasima has actually covered part of what I wanted to say, so I wouldn't repeat that. But in addition to what she has said and the beautiful comments that have come and what Prof. Yeneng has said, I am really looking forward to us, as Saraisa is growing, being their fourth conference. I am really looking forward to us as a country and also having influence in our sister countries in Africa to begin to develop, I know this would be music to Prof. Sifoto's ears, to begin to develop our own pedagogies, our own theories, our own. I mean, he asked a pertinent question on our presentation in terms of personality traits. But are those our personality traits? Do they fit into us? You know, I said something that I was, pardon me, for those who are politically sensitive. You know, with everything that has been happening, I actually asked a friend of mine to say, I think I need a refund from my university where I did my psychology, because I surely there's a part of human behavior of a particular group of people that I was not taught, because I never understand what's happening. So because I was taught the Western human behavior. I was taught what Pavlov and Piaget and whatever says. But the reality is we can all, as we sit here, colleagues, we see that it looks like the behavior in Africa seems to be different, and we need to understand. And it starts really early in childhood, understanding the child and taking the child along in understanding the behavior of an African persona. And when I say African, I need to be clear, Linda, I always make this disclaimer that when I say African, my description of African is Thabo Mbeki's description of an African. Thank you.
Okay, any more hands or questions or comments?
And by the way, thank you for the beautiful facilitation, Linda.
Awesome. It was my pleasure. I had lovely presenters to help through the sessions. Are there any more questions? Anything else? There's another new hand. Bonita, you can unmute yourself and then just ask your question.
Yes, thank you very much for the insightful and brilliant presentation. And I think it's important what you've raised because we've discovered in our program that when you allow children to express themselves and have a voice, yet when they go on to formal schooling, there they are kind of almost nipped in the butt, where they're not allowed to say how they feel, not allowed to give their input to the educator, which is challenging, because now on early childhood development level, you constructed a child with a voice, and then when it gets to formal schooling, they kind of not allowed to express, which kind of make them less of an individual. And here we kind of promoting individuality, and this is not being, they're not being allowed to express themselves. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you, Prof.
Very fruitful. Thank you.
Okay, I see there was another comment from Hasina. We need to position ourselves as theorists and not data gatherers for the North. So yes, that we should do that. And then is it Ashni said only the emancipated teacher can develop children with agency? Yes, it's difficult to change people's perspectives about children and to have to see them as children with competence, the rich child perspective, a child that can do anything. Okay, and then there's another one. We can no longer afford to work in silos and running the rat race. It is time for national collaborative partnerships. So that is true. And you've all extended a lot of invitations for collaboration. So I hope it will be up and running soon. And then there's another one, allowing for children's agency also needs to be part of teacher training. That is true. It's definitely part of every good lecturer's training. I'm sure of that. But it's, as I say, it's difficult to change perspectives, especially when student teachers do their teaching practice in traditional schools where children are not seen and not heard. So it is a difficult process for all of us. Right, everyone, is there a new hand? No, I think that's not a new hand. But I think this conference is over, and I don't want to close the session because I'm not ready to go yet. I feel as if we should have had a conference dinner or something where we could really chat and just collaborate and share and bond and whatever. But unfortunately, the time is over, and it was lovely having all of you here, and go well. I'm sure there will be lots of collaborations and communications from here onwards, and let's keep it alive so that we can do something for ECD in South Africa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, colleagues, for the space.
It was nice seeing you, Professor Sifoto.
Thank you, equally. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, Dr. Boss.
Everyone.
Thank you very much.